two, one, and boom, we are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Weintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. Um, you've been having the VW ID.4 for a while now. You were able to test it for a week.
Yes.
We weren't supposed to be able to talk about it. We don't have a post to reference for you guys to go read. Because the embargo was supposed to be later this weekend or early next week,
Monday.
Monday, but it was broken for some reason, and then they
Wall
opened
Street
it up.
Journal.
Wall Street Journal screwed up.
They screwed up. I think they put it in the print, so you can't
You can take it back.
No, you can't take that back.
So we're gonna be able to talk about that. We're gonna do it later on the show, even though I said the post is gonna be coming probably this weekend.
And a video.
And a video too, all right. And then you went on that Bolt EU, just the EUV, or did you get the new EV too?
Well, they were both there, but we weren't allowed to drive the Bolt EV, which is weird because it's been around for 5 years.
Yeah.
But we got to drive the Bolt EUV, and it was pretty interesting.
All right.
But
That is under embargo though, so it's not interesting. It's just blank. You cannot say anything about it.
Right.
Until Monday, right?
Monday, 1 o'clock, I think.
All right, so we're going to discuss that on the next episode next week, but you're going to be able to read about it on Monday, of course, if you follow Electrek. We're going to start with our Tesla news as per usual, and we're going to stop with something that happened last weekend, and then we had some more information this week that came up. I didn't do that. I didn't click the right button right here. All right. And that's the Model Y standard range. So last week we discussed the price changes and everything. A good $2,000 off the standard range. I was like, all right, this is interesting stuff. It was just a month into the vehicle being launched, already a $2,000 price cut. Now the Model Y is less than $40,000. Interesting stuff. Then it just disappeared this weekend. This weekend they took it off the configurator, and people were like, hey, what's happening? Is it canceled? Or they just stopped to take orders? We don't know. We didn't know, but that was very surprising. Just a month into launching in, and then a few days into cutting the price significantly. And then this week, Elon commented on the issue. He said that it's still available, but off the menu. So we know what that means. We know what happens with that. It generally means that it's going away. That's what happened with the Model 3 standard range. And it's a weird thing just to have an existing trim of your vehicle. Just we don't tell you that it's there unless you're in the know, if you will.
Yeah, I've got some questions about that because you can't just have a battery configuration. Like, are they gonna still have that battery size, or are they gonna software limit the long range battery?
Well, the way I see it is that the standard Model Y standard range was really a standard model, as the same powertrain as the Model 3 standard range plus, really.
Right.
They call it a standard range because there was no standard range to be a plus of.
Right.
Though the same thing is true now for the Model 3, so they could also change that. So if that's the case, then I assume it's not that big of a deal to just use the Model 3 standard range plus powertrain and build a Model Y around it. Or like you said, if it's really, I felt like there was going to be a popular vehicle. So if it's going to be popular, if a lot of people are going to order it, I don't think they're gonna. I just don't think they would software lock it with a bigger battery pack, because then you deliver more value for a smaller price.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird. I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's that AI. It's that AI pricing.
Well, actually, apparently it's Elon, because Elon said that he said in many driving condition it has yet to meet Tesla's standard of excellence. So it goes back to originally why we were surprised in the first place last month when Tesla launched it, because Elon said that it was canceled. So if we go back to the beginning of the history of the Model Y standard range, it was announced all the way back at the launch in 2019, in March 2019 of the Model Y, and it was part of the configurations that Tesla was planning to make available at less than 250 miles of range back then. And then later on, like a year later, I think, Elon said that yeah, we're not going to launch it because it's going to have less than 250 miles of range, which we find unacceptably low. And yet, a few months after that, they ended up launching it with 244 miles of range, which is, I think it's good for that price. Like, I think it makes sense. Though he is fair when he says, to be fair, he does mention in many drive conditions. So,
Right.
like in Canada, for example, or in places where you have a lot of snow, you have cold temperature. Yes, I mean 244 miles of range will be a lot closer to 150 miles of range in very cold conditions. So with snow tires and everything,
Yeah.
yes, at that point, yes, it's not, maybe not up to Tesla standards.
Yeah. You got to make it between superchargers.
Yes, exactly. But in plenty of other markets, though, I think it would have made a ton of sense. Like in
Yeah.
California,
Florida.
with the incentives too and everything, like it becomes a very attractive vehicle. But they decided not to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, like right now, so if you order one of those in let's say a month, if they're still around in a month via phone, is that going to have a battery, like a small battery pack? I guess it's the battery pack, like you said, that goes in the Model 3. And they
Hmm.
have the Model 3 Standard Range Plus. But that battery pack isn't like normally like most Model Ys are going to have a long range battery pack. So it's just a weird thing to have like I'm sure the call volume isn't high. So it's just a weird thing to do.
Yeah. Well, since we're speaking about that, I think it might be worth noting what Elon said yesterday about the LFP batteries
Yes.
making it to standard range vehicle at Tesla. Because you just said standard range, you didn't say cars, you didn't say Model 3. So he said that nickel is our biggest concern for scaling lithium-ion cell production. That's why we are shifting standard range car to iron cathode, plenty of iron and lithium! Exclamation mark. So we know already that the Model 3 Standard Range Plus produced in Shanghai, in Gigafactory Shanghai in China, is using an iron cathode, an NFP chemistry.
That's from cattle, right? CATL?
Yeah, I think so. So iron phosphate is known to be to have not as much energy density as a high nickel cathode, lithium ion with like NCA or NCM, nickel manganese, are just
Mm-hmm.
very high density nickel. So there wasn't as much use in passenger cars, though in China it was a little bit more popular with cheaper vehicles because it is cheaper too. And so a lot of people were saying why Tesla was bringing that to standard range Model 3. It's not necessarily because they were saying that the energy density has improved enough, and it has improved, but it's also obviously a cost situation here. The standard range plus is Tesla's cheapest vehicle. And people weren't too worried about it because, all right, it's just for China, the Chinese market, it sounds like, and people are already a lot more used to it in China. But then they launched it in Europe. They brought that vehicle to Europe. Now the standard range Model 3 is produced in Shanghai for the European market. And then in Europe, people are starting to notice, oh, it's not as good as the version with a nickel cathode because the charging speed a little bit slower, and also in winter conditions when it's colder, not as efficient, doesn't get as much range. So people are a bit worried about that. But what was interesting in Elon's comment is that that's why we are shifting standard range car to an iron cathode. So he's implying that the shift is ongoing. They are shifting right now. So that might be meaning that the Model 3 Standard Range Plus produced in Fremont for the U.S. market, the North American market, and everything else could also be shifting to LFP battery cells, which would be interesting.
Yep.
And maybe they are waiting for that shift to happen in order to launch the Model Y standard range.
There you go.
Because again, it's not just about range; it's also margin issue. It's also cost issue, and that might make more sense for the Model Y at $40,000 if it has that battery in it.
Also, we should note that I think iron phosphate is a little bit safer. Like, you puncture the battery, it doesn't have the runaway, like, the, it's not as explosive.
Yeah, thermal runaway.
Thermal runaway, yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting to
Yeah, that's a good connection.
into that post here. But now let's go back to what's happening at Fremont this week. So there was a report yesterday from Bloomberg stating that a bunch of employees on the Model 3 production line were told not to show up to work until March 7th because they were shutting down the production line. It wasn't clear why, but we speculated that it could be because of the industry-wide microchip shortage that the automotive sector is experiencing right now. Because why we speculated that, but first of all, if someone is an automaker is announcing, not that Tesla announced anything, of course, people had to find out by looking to it, but uh, the if an automaker is announcing a production out or deceleration of production, it is generally because of that microchip shortage right now. I mean, GM, Ford, Nissan, Toyota, Volkswagen, Subaru, Fiat, Chrysler, they all announced at least deceleration of some production line, and in some cases, a complete halt of the production due to the shortage. So with that in mind, and with the fact that what happened in Texas last week, and we know that Samsung is in Texas, in Austin, with a big factory that lost power, and that factory is part of the supply chain for Tesla, for Tesla's chip that goes into the hardware 3.0 computer. We just made 1 + 1 equal 2, and it would make sense that it affected Tesla's inventory, and they would eventually have to um, alter their own production capacity. Now, what we learned after that, Elon commented later on yesterday that it was indeed there was indeed a production shutdown, but it wasn't exactly that. It was actually a broader shutdown that we expected. It was just one production line. It was actually the whole factory that shut down for 2 days. Started back up a day before yesterday. A lot of people assume, oh, that means that the Bloomberg report was nonsense. I wouldn't go as far as saying that. Like, I mean, what Elon actually said is that it was even bigger than that. The whole factory was shut down. He said it's already getting back up, so it's not going to be shut down for 2 weeks, like Bloomberg stated. But Bloomberg was just talking about one specific production line. That production line might really take 2 weeks to bring back up. Like the factory is not just a switch; you just go on and off. So it could very well be the case. He didn't confirm that it's for a microchip shortage, but it did say some parts supply issue. So I think that's very likely at this point. But in that email that we obtained, Elon also mentioned a few other interesting things, especially regarding the Model S and X upgrade. So when Tesla launched the refresh Model S and X, it was saying that it was going to be deliveries in the next few weeks by the end of February, and we haven't really seen that so far. It looks like it might have been pushed a little bit. And in the email, he wrote, Model S and X production line are almost done with the retooling, so implying that there's still going to be a few more days needed to start ramping up production and start deliveries. We'll be aiming for max production next quarter, so that's encouraging. And then he added, there is high demand, so we are going to need to go back to 2 shifts. Even ask the employees to recommend friends for recruiting. So it's been a while since the Model S and X lines have been on 2 shifts. We noted, of course, sales have been declining a lot in the last few years as the program became sort of stale, and the Tesla was focusing, of course, on Model 3 and Model Y. So yeah, it looks like the refresh did it, breathed some life into the vehicle programs, and now they're gonna have to ramp up production. So it's exciting.
Yeah. So the original email, March 7th. What do you think? That person who got that email, is that guy or woman? Is he or she fired now, or like what? What?
I mean, it was a whole production line, so I assume there was a lot of people. It would be
Right.
hard to track it down. There was some people that were stating today that they were told to come back to work now. So maybe they are ramping up faster, or maybe they're going to be used to do the
Retool.
maintenance, the retooling, like they
Yeah.
said, that they're going to do 2 on Model 3, Model Y. So,
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, I doubt anyone got fired, but you never know with Tesla.
I'm sure they're looking.
Yeah. All right, we we already went with two Tesla news pretty quick, so let's move on. I think personally, what I think was the biggest news of the week here, the news that got me the most excited, was the Hyundai Ioniq 5 official unveiling. We saw the vehicle in full
Yeah,
on the 23rd, and it hit the mark for me. It hit the mark pretty good.
I was
Uh,
also pretty excited about it.
yeah, design wise, I mean, look at that car.
Yeah,
It's not for everyone. It's definitely a step forward in my opinion. Like so like anything, like any change, like any more like drastic design. Though I would argue it's not that drastic. It's not like BMW i3 8 years ago drastic, but it is forward. But in my opinion, like a lot of automakers drop the ball in terms of design when it comes to the front end. I don't think that's the case here. I mean, the headlights are very new, like this old square thing. It's not
hmm
usual, but it works very well into the line of the hood. And then you have this thing here in the middle, this little line here. Um, it just works for me. It works. No
yeah,
need for a nose cone, no need for a fake grill, anything like that. It
yeah, they
just,
don't even have the charge port in the front anymore.
yeah, well, boy. I mean, that was the
That
Nero
was
and the
oh yeah, that was Kia, not Hyundai,
yeah.
because the Soul
That
EV had that too.
did the Soul. And
I
so
get
the
the
Kona doesn't have it. It's only the Nero.
yeah, I think the Kona has a normal one.
Yeah,
Maybe not. I don't know.
I mean the Nero. I know the Nero has it from Kia, and that always pissed me off. But yeah, I think it works. Like it's and here's the thing that's interesting with it. That thing is basically the same size as an ID.4, a VW ID.4. It's actually a little bigger than ID.4 in everything except the height of the car.
Hmm.
So, because if you look at it like that, it looks like a hatchback. They call it a CUV, but it looks like almost a hatchback. But it's actually the size of a CUV, again, except from the height. And of course, the height also contribute to your volume, cargo volume. So technically, the ID.4 has a slightly bigger, or even maybe decently bigger cargo volume, but that's because of the height. The actual space, in terms of width and the length, is slightly bigger for the Ioniq 5, which I found really interesting. And then you look into the interior. Let's on the design. Let's look at the interior. Clean.
Yeah.
They didn't overcomplicate things. There's still buttons, of course. They didn't go full Tesla, but it's minimal. I like it. It's not a big fan. Well, it doesn't extend as much, but still pretty good. The seats look very comfortable to me. Like, but of course, that's just like from what I can
They
see.
have built-in ottomans.
Yeah. That's
That's like a lazy boy.
yeah, that's luxury right there. Like I've seen that in luxury car before, but I mean, I guess the Hyundai is going like Hyundai as a Genesis. It's for its luxury brand, but I think with the Ioniq, they're trying to like it's going to be a higher end too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the panoramic roof,
Yep.
which they did mention in the launch an option for a solar roof. Uh, I don't know how it's gonna work though. Is it gonna be cells embedded in the glass, or is it gonna be you're gonna have a full metal roof with cells on it? I don't know how it's gonna work, but apparently it's gonna be an option. I mean, look at that. Doesn't that look like comfort?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they did some crazy stuff there. Not only, I mean, notice the floor in the front is flat. Like that's almost a problem. Like if your kids are, put their volleyball down at their feet, like, and you make a sharp right turn
No,
or
no, no.
left turn,
But look. This is the cool thing too. Is
that
that
goes back and forth.
yeah, the center console when you're driving, like now, right now, I don't know what she's doing. Like she's just taking a nap in her car for some reason. But yeah, like,
She lives there.
yeah, maybe very stylish person for being homeless, but still, uh, that center console is much forward. I don't know if it's for both. I assume it's for both seats, but when you recline a seat or push it back, the whole center console goes back, so
I
it's
saw that. That's
much more
cool.
closer to the dashboard once you're in driving position. I don't maybe a ball of some kind could still roll from the passenger side to the driver's side. I do understand your concern, but also look at that center console right there. I mean, you want some volleyballs, put them there.
Yeah, exactly.
Plenty of room there.
Yeah, you got your laptop case in there, your briefcase. You got room for everything right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of like the early Model S and X when there was like
A lot of
space
space.
between the two seats and
Yeah.
everything. Um, yeah. In terms of the powertrain, a few interesting things.
Options.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key word, really. Options. You do get two-wheel drives, all-wheel drive, two battery packs, and they are both available on both options. So unlike Tesla, like if you want all-wheel drive, you have to go with long range and everything. Hyundai that doesn't push that on you. The standard range is 58 kilowatt hour battery pack. Again, all-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, which is 125 kilowatt for the two-wheel drive, which is rear-wheel drive. Yeah, rear-wheel drive, I think, and 173 for the all-wheel drive. So it's not a big bump that you get with the front motor, but still,
You're going through snow.
yeah, decent enough for things like high sea conditions, snowy conditions. And then if you want to go with the long range, you get a 72.6 kilowatt hour for the European market. And this is a trend that we're starting to see. Hyundai is going like North American people. They want more range. They want more. Not only they want more range, but also
Power.
the EPA standard is more difficult to achieve a longer range. So it's easier to look like you have a higher range on the WLTP. So they are actually going to offer a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack for the North American market. So almost 5 more kilowatt hour that you're going to get in North America.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you still get the two-wheel drive option, which is going to give you the longest range option of them all when combined with the long range battery pack, and an all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive will give you 225 kilowatts, so you're starting to get like a peppy little car there, and that goes 0 to 100 kilometer an hour, which is 62 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds.
Respectable.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like you're gonna have some fun with that, like off of a red light or something. So range wise, I mean, they didn't release the EPA, but did they? No. Okay, the WLTP is 470 for the longest range version
Kilometers.
so 292 miles. But then so that's on the 72.6 kilowatt hour pack. So I had the 4 more kilowatt hour. I mean, normally like if you get 292 miles on WLTP, you'd be lucky to get like 240 to 50
Right.
off of a EPA. But with the 5 more kilowatt hour, like who knows? I mean, 250 at least, maybe up to 270. I think.
Yeah.
Of course, that's for the longest range version and everything. So that's long range battery pack, two-wheel drive.
It probably has to have more than the Kona. Like they have to. Maybe that's why they. I don't know, but like the Kona's at like 260 or 255 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably just over that.
Yeah, that would make sense because it's gonna be probably like I said that's well, we'll get to the pricing, but charging 400 volt, 800 volt works on the two infrastructure up to 350 kilowatt charging.
But that doesn't mean it's an 800 volt system. It just it has the 800 volt charging.
Yeah. Well, you can take up to 800 volt charging.
Right.
Yeah. 350 kilowatt though.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's crazy.
That's good. Like,
I mean, real world, it's not going to be like that.
I mean, yeah, most of the time, like you're gonna need to have a 350 kilowatt charger, which they're not that many, but they're getting more.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, if you want 350 kilowatt charging, you want a Taycan or something like that, or GT, or Audi GT,
Or the Hummer.
or the Hummer. I mean, but those are all $100,000 plus cars. This thing, again, we're gonna get to the pricing. We don't know yet, but we're gonna speculate. But Hyundai said that you're gonna be able to charge from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes. So of course that's
awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy, really.
I mean,
yeah.
That's it. Like that's pretty close to like gas.
Yeah.
I mean, gas is 10 minutes tops, but we're getting so close it almost doesn't matter.
And again, you don't even need to do that when you're actually doing like long distance travel.
Right.
I'm like charging is not even in your mind. We already talked about the Ioniq coming with the vehicle. Now they're calling it vehicle to load, so that the vehicle to grid, vehicle to home thing, and everything. That's what they're talking about. Now they are calling it vehicle to load.
This is the best thing for me, I think. Like finally, somebody's doing this.
Yeah, had it already. no compromise. Like everything looks great, and then this is like a good added value to have that 3.6 kilowatt capacity that you can get out of it. Um, there's a port that is underneath the second row seats that has a regular power outlet on it, so you can like plug your laptop if you're in the back or something and just use that as you drive or whatever, which is not like unusual for cars. But there's also, you can literally use a bidirectional charger into the charge port of the vehicle and get access to that vehicle to load capacity.
Do you get the 3.6 kilowatts out of the plug? Do you think, or do you have to use the bidirectional for that?
They don't specify it here. They do say that the V2L port is located under the second row seat and it can be activated when the vehicle is on. Another V2L port is located at the charging port on the vehicle exterior.
Because they did a little video and they had it was a European plug, which is 240 already, but to be 3.6 kilowatt, it would have to be about a 20 amp output, which is be a lot of power, but that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then they showed it like powering refrigerators and TVs and a bunch of other stuff, like camping. Like, but 3.6 kilowatts. This is an important thing. Like, you can back up your house with that. Like, those generator ports that people build into their houses, and they have the separate fuse boxes and all that. That's the kind of power that those things need. A typical house, like, I probably could look up my house right now, but a typical house runs at like 2 kilowatts or less. So, as long as you're not doing like, laundry and cooking at the same time, you can probably back up your house with this thing, which is a huge added incentive because, the cost of that, if you're buying a generator, which is dirty, or you're buying power walls, which are like 10 grand, like that's a big value add that nobody seems to be talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. With the solar roof thing we already talked about, they didn't really mention the type of range that you can get all of it, but I wouldn't expect much due to the surface of the vehicle here.
Mostly just a vampire drain elimination.
They have the latest heads up display here. I need to find a video of Hyundai's heads up display because I've seen the one in the Kona, which I wasn't really impressed with.
Yeah.
Not really one of the best, but they said it's a new one with augmented reality capabilities. So I'm really curious to see what's that about, because that could be good, because I've seen some very good ones with augmented reality. So I'm going to look into that if I could get a video, because I'm sure people would want to see that. And then the Smart Sense, which is the driver assist suite of a Hyundai that you get like a equivalent like of a autopilot, if you will. And it's coming this summer. The first half, available in selected regions starting in the first half of 2021. So selected regions, I would assume that's South Korea, some European markets. I wouldn't expect it in North America until the second half. And now in terms of the pricing, so they already released some pricing in Europe, starting at like 40,000 euros, which is a bit expensive, but that includes the VAT. So
Right.
maybe a little bit cheaper in North America. I don't know. Some people are saying, the base version could be starting at 30,000. I'd be surprised, but something around 40,000 would be interesting, I think.
Yeah, if they can get below 40, they still have the $7,500 tax credit. Then all of a sudden, that's a $30,000 car.
Yeah.
That's tempting. That's like, I don't know. Like it's hard to think about like a VW ID.3 or ID.4, a Chevy Bolt EUV, a Mustang. Like, this thing has all those little extra things that are pretty sweet, and if it's around the same price, it's going to be hard to think about those things with this thing around.
Yeah. I might become a Hyundai owner again.
Yeah.
I was a Hyundai owner at some point with my Tiburon.
How was that?
I like the Tiburon. I was a kid when I bought it, but it was like a very cool looking sports car that you could actually afford. Like I paid I bought it used, but I paid like $10,000, less than $10,000 for it. And it was a cool looking little 2 doors sports car. So and it worked well. I liked it.
I've never owned a Hyundai or any
Korean car.
Korean cars.
All right. The USPS. Okay, we're gonna discuss this piece of news right here, and then we'll talk a bit about Seth's experience with the ID.4, and then we're gonna take questions. So if you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. Especially if you have question about the ID.4, I guess, and Seth didn't write a post anything yet. Like you could help him like formulate some kind of thought and what idea of what you guys really want to know about the car. That'll be fun. So USPS they announced their fleet renewal contract this week. So they are replacing the 160 some thousand cars in their fleet, and they are not even going all electric with it, which is kind of crazy. Because I mean, if you remember, just last month, one of the first thing Biden did when he came into office is like the old federal government fleet is going all electric. Like every all vehicle in the government is going all electric. For what period of time I don't know, but he made it like a priority. And then a month later, what the federal government fleet, like the most interesting one, like the biggest one, the biggest part of it, the USPS, they announced the renewal of the fleet, and like we're gonna have some electric car, some internal combustion engine. We are working very hard to promote alternate fuels.
Yeah.
I mean, I read the announcement. And I was like, what are they talking about? And then a day later, Mr. the boss of that thing, what was it called?
DeJoy.
Yeah, DeJoy, who was, by the way, was elected by Trump, who was appointed by Trump, or under the Trump administration. I'm not sure if Trump has even know who that guy is, but it was under Trump. He was appointed, committed to only 10% of that fleet, 160 some thousand vehicles,
Garbage.
going all electric, which shows a complete lack of leadership, complete lack of vision. I mean, those vehicles are so primed for electrification. Like it makes so much sense. The low speed, stopping, starting all the time.
Yep.
That's all the things that EVs are super good at.
Perfect opportunity.
Yeah, super efficient at. And nope, they're not doing it. And also, they gave the contract to some defense contractor for some reason.
In Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We thought it was going to go to Workhorse, right?
I mean, I wasn't I didn't have any like favorite or anything like that. But I mean, a defense contractor, like these guys make tanks or whatever. Maybe not tanks, but like military vehicles.
Yeah, it's weird. Somebody got paid off, I'm sure.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised about that. But like this, does this needs to be made by a military, like a military contractor? Like,
also,
deliver mails. Like
we've been kind of nice. That thing is the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a post office like thing. You wouldn't expect it to look amazing, but that looks like it was drawn by like a third grader or something. It looks like Homer Simpson design.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it does. The front end exactly does like this Homer Simpson design vehicle, but I don't care about the design. I'm
more upset about the electrification. But like, if we're gonna go back to the thing, at least like if they're gonna do internal combustions, they should make it at least look decent, and they didn't. So it's a 0.
Yeah, and I mean. After the announcement, the next day, Biden announced that he appointed, like he was able to appoint like 3 more chairs of the board of the USPS. So he did that, which gave majority to the Democrats for the board. But I don't know if that's going to be able to do anything to reverse the decision and whatnot. Like they gave the contract already. The contract is officially Oshkosh. So like, can they do anything? I don't know.
I mean, I guess they could tweak the 10% into 90%.
Yeah.
But and we should note the vehicle itself is supposed to be able to be upgraded from combustion to electric at some point later.
They did say that, but then why? Like it's not like, oh, we have like a battery constraint and everything. 160,000 vehicles is going to be a big problem. It's over 10 years, people. So like, the upgrade is over 10 years. They gave the contract now for 10 years. So that means that in 8-9 years under that contract, they could still be delivering internal combustion engine vehicles. Which, can you imagine being 2028?
Yeah,
and buying a brand new internal combustion engine vehicle that you ordered 10 years ago. Like, oh,
And knowing them and knowing the post office and the government, they're probably like backloading the EVs. So they're going to make 100% internal combustion for like the first five,
for
8 years. And then, oh, we'll throw in some electric vehicles in 10 years. Bastards.
I was very disappointed by that because
You're not even American.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, I know.
If the U.S. does it, and
One
we were
atmosphere.
expecting it too because of Biden's announcement last month,
Right. No, I agree.
because of the USPS actually gave contracts to a bunch of companies, including like Workhorse and like a few of those, like to build like prototypes and everything, like to show that they can do it and whatnot. So it's not like it's not like no one could do it, so they gave the contract to Oshkosh and like make mostly internal combustion engine. It's like something weird happened, and that the Joy guy is I mean, I've never met him, but I would safely assume that he's either a moron or he has some vested interest. And like, I
Can it
was
be both?
surprised in 3 years from now he gets a cushy little job on the Oshkosh board for some reason. Like,
Oh yeah, consultant.
I wouldn't be shocked by that.
Yeah, $5 million a year consultant. Bastard.
All right, so let's talk about something a little better. How did you find the ID.4?
It's a great car. There's trade-offs always. And Volkswagen, they have three tiers. They have the Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche. And and Volkswagen's kind of the people's car. Mm-hmm. And I think overall, they have this saying, I guess, it's not for millionaires, it's for the millions. So they took some, it doesn't charge at 150 kilowatts. It charges at 120 or 110 or whatever. It's not super fast. Like, I got a rear wheel drive version in the snow. It sucked in the snow. Like, they told me it was snow tires, and I was like, this is, it barely made it up my driveway. I got stuck twice. I had to shovel it out a couple times. So it's a great car.
And all-wheel drive version is also
Yeah, the all-wheel drive version is coming late summer. Hopefully, we'll get invited to that event.
Just in time for the summer. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, just in time for the summer. They had the two-wheel drive just in time for the winter. Smart. But what's cool about the all-wheel drive one, if you're a North American, is they're making it here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, maybe it's if you're into that car, maybe it's a good thing to wait. But this was the first edition, and we got it for 3 days. Or no, sorry, we got it for 36 hours. And that I got it for an hour. I took it, did my waterfall pictures and whatever. Went shopping for some groceries, came back, snowstorm for about 24 hours, and then the snow turned into rain, and then I had another like 3 or 4 hours. So the imagery and the videos aren't going to be great, and I didn't get to take it to Vermont like I did the Mustang, which
You couldn't put a lot of mileage on it, really.
Yeah, I really couldn't drive it because in the snow, like the road, even if you can get out of my driveway, which is not that easy, the roads were just horrible. So with a two-wheel drive car, I just didn't trust being able to get up hills and stay on the road. But that said, like the car is really pleasant. Like it's a great drive. VW's German engineered. It feels great inside. It was like somewhere between like the Mustang level of luxury and a Tesla. Like when you hit a bump, it didn't make a loud noise like my Model Y does, but it also didn't like totally soften it like the Mustang did, which is weird because I don't think of the Mustang as like a luxury vehicle. Yeah, I mean, inside it was really nice. It wasn't, we talked about like Tesla, no buttons. It wasn't, or even Mustang didn't have very many buttons and it had the screen. It was very much more like a traditional car. Like if you want to know where the door handle is, you don't have to like search around and try to figure out what, Tesla or Ford was doing. It's just a normal door handle inside and out. Mm-hmm. They did, of course, make the gear shifter. I don't know why this is impossible for people to understand, but like they made the gear shifter super weird. It's on the dashboard. It's like the BMW thing. It's a dial on the dashboard. And of course, if you want to go into regen mode, or one pedal driving, as everybody calls it, you got to go twice into drive, just like the Chevy Bolt or everything else, which is super annoying. I asked them if they're going to upgrade that. They said, we're thinking about it, but it could be upgraded over the air, where you can switch that or change that. One thing, it was really disappointing. I took it to a Electrify America, the same kind of thing that I took the Mustang to, and the Mustang has plug-in charge. So you just plug it in, it does a thing for like 15, 20 seconds, and then you're charging, kind of like a Tesla. Volkswagen, who owns Electrify America and has the ID.4, took it to the station, plugged it in, asked for my credit card. So I gave it my credit card. That didn't work. I did Apple Pay. That didn't work. I signed up for an Electrify America account, which I've had.
Which
but
you should have had.
Well, I had one. I just couldn't remember the password, so I signed up again. That didn't work. So maybe it was the station. We should note Electrify America has been a great partner for Electrek, and it works more times than it doesn't. But in this particular case, it was quite frustrating that I had a Volkswagen and their charging system didn't work. And I asked them about plug-in charge, like, guys,
do that.
Ford's got this. Your other company,
you own Electrify America.
You own Electrify America. You have a car, on the other side of the company that's doing plug-in charge already. Call those engineers, just download that software, do whatever you have to do. But they said plug-in charge is coming via software update at a later date. So that's good. That's something to look forward to. I think from now on, if it doesn't have plug-in charge, they gotta just go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that it's going to be a quick standard to be applied to the whole industry.
And it just totally makes it a much better experience.
I mean, it showed Tesla was smart to do their own thing, start with their own charging network, because they were able to apply that easily if it's with their own network. It's not as easy, though it should be for Volkswagen, as we just described. But I mean, they're doing it. Ford is doing it. So
yeah, I mean, if Ford can do it on Volkswagen's chargers, Volkswagen can do it.
Yeah. I mean, officially, there's a whole Chinese wall between Electrify America and Volkswagen, so it's a completely different company and everything. But still,
yeah. So I don't, that was one bad thing. I have to say, overall though, I was really impressed with the inside, the interior, the drive was great. When you're not on snowy roads, you kind of wonder, all right, so am I just getting used to these electric vehicles? The Mustang was really good. Even the Chevy today, also good. And this thing, the ID.4, it was just great. It just flies down the road, not crazy fast. I don't even think as fast as the Mustang that I had, but it gets there. And you accelerate onto the freeway. You're not wanting for any more acceleration. You're not pinning people back like a Tesla will, but like Volkswagen says, this is for the millions. So I think it's a very appealing design. I think women and men who aren't necessarily electric vehicle nerds like us, they're going to be really comfortable in this kind of car. So for me, it's a big winner. They do have some work to do, all-wheel drive, getting the plug-in charge working, but I think it's going to be a popular car.
Yeah, let's get excited. So I'm supposed to get one for a while, right? For a week for review.
Week. Yeah.
Do we know when that's going to happen?
I mean, I don't know if it's going to be all the way until late summer, but
I thought it was coming up.
No, I hope so. I don't know when it'll be though.
All right, let's jump into the comments. What you guys are saying right now?
All right. So Jonathan Warling says the Bolt EV is interesting. LOL. I think it is. I've owned a Bolt EV for 3 years. I love that car. So the EV is kind of interesting, but I can't say why. All right. Matt O, what are your predictions for Model 2, $25,000 car price upon delivery? Do you see anything below 50,000 Canadian out the door? Is 25K too optimistic? Well, I don't think it's going to be called the Model 2.
Yeah, me neither. But I don't understand that. Would it be below 50,000 Canadian?
I mean, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I mean, there's no. There's no car Tesla sells right now in Canada that is twice the amount that it's sold in the US. Unless it's saying that maybe it won't be $25,000 in the US either, which might might not be like a bad speculation because of course
No.
Tesla has had some issue delivering on pricing before. So yeah, maybe. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll see about that car. We'll see when we get there. It's all very speculative right now. It's probably still like 2 or 3 years away. So I don't know.
In terms of the chip shortage, Station 240 says Tesla also used a lot of chips from Texas Instruments, who are in Texas also.
Good point.
Yep.
Is Texas Instrument in Texas? I'm
I
shocked.
think so. Green Gold, Tesla needs to figure out what models and prices they want and stick with it. This is in regard to the pricing. That would be nice for sure. I wonder if they're trying to create some like nervous energy with potential buyers saying, it's at a good price now, I should buy it before they raise the price or do something weird.
I mean, who the hell knows? Like Tesla's been so weird about that for so long now, and in the U.S. with the whole tax credit thing that like looms around everything too, it's getting a bit confusing. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. I should mention there's a like a competing reform to the tax credit that's been introduced too. We talked about the Green Act last week or the week before that was introduced. Gives 400,000 more cars to Tesla and all other automakers that hit the threshold at $7,000 tax credit. The Electric Cars Act, which was actually introduced in 2019, but of course was shut down under the Trump administration, and the Republicans still had the Senate and whatnot. Now they're bringing that back, and that one, if that one makes it instead of the Green Act, that would be a big deal because first of all, it's retroactive through the year, so it would start in 2021. So every car that was delivered in 2021 would apply to. Still 7,500, so $500 more. Who's going to complain about $500 more in their pockets? Big deal here, big deal. At the dealership, you can get it at the dealership on the sticker price. So not a tax credit. It can be a tax credit too, and if you want it as a tax credit, it can be over 5 years. So if you don't have $7,500 of tax liability at the federal level, you should have it over 5 years, especially if you're buying a new car. So that's good. But again, most people won't do that if you can apply it at the dealership at the sticker price. So people.
Yeah, I don't know why you would just take the money.
I'm not a tax law accountant. Right. Maybe they would have a reason for it, but I'm on the same page as you on that. And then of course the biggest thing of them all, they removed the cap. There's no cap at all. It's on a 10-year period.
It's crazy.
Which is crazy. But I feel like that's more of a negotiating standpoint. Maybe right. Like we asked for that, and then we 5 years would be plenty on between you and me. Like 10 years is a long time. Like by 10 years, like it's EV is going to be way more competitive on pricing than any gas-powered cars.
I mean, I hate to say this out loud in public, but like Tesla's already competing pretty well without a tax credit.
Yeah.
My thing is like, all right, take all that energy and all that stuff and carbon tax, or carbon dividend. I mean, I know that's not popular and never going to be popular, but like not at the station, at the well, I don't know.
Yeah, but even though that the Electric Cars Act sounds a bit crazy, it's easier to do, I'm sure, than the carbon tax.
Right. All right. David Authors asks, sorry if I missed it, but did you guys ever discuss the Apple TV Plus show Long Way Up? It included Rivian truck driving up from south tip of South America to LA, quite a feat. We did discuss it. Micah did a couple posts on it in conjunction with 9 to 5 Mac, which covers Apple TV Plus. It's pretty interesting. I only watched some highlights, but it was also with 2 Harley Davidson Livewire electric motorcycles. So go Google it.
Which were the focus on the show, really. I mean, Rivian comes up a few times because they are the support vehicle to but it's really just a motorcycle drive mostly.
All right, Kevin, and do you have pictures of all the 9 colors it's being offered in? Was that in regard to the Hyundai or Tesla? No,
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, we should do that. People always love those posts. Like we should probably do that with the Ioniq and the ID.4 and post all the colors available.
When, if do you think LFP equipped Teslas will make it to North America? Well, they're not going to make it. They're going to make made in North America. But it
No,
could be. I mean, if Elon's kind of hinting at it now, it could be happening as we speak.
could be, but I have no idea.
Yeah, it might not ever happen. Uh, Electric car market is finally heating up. Great for customers. I was just thinking the same thing. Like, we're reviewing the Bolt EUV, the ID.4, the Mustang, Model Ys here, and they're finally catching up to demand. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, if there was like the standard range Model Y competing with the ID.4, competing with the Ioniq 5, competing with the Mustang Mach-E all in the same year, that would be like crazy. It's
Yeah.
pretty much what's happening, though. Standard range Model Y is kind of up in the air.
Green Gold also asks, is SEC investigating Elon again?
That was first Quack, the Newswire, financial Newswire, which generally is pretty early on those news. So I think it was the one that they break the news to for the last ACC investigation on Elon. But yeah, apparently they are. I don't, we don't know. They never comment on active investigation, so it's very hard to confirm it. But Elon is asking for it after the news came out. He went on Twitter. He was like, "I hope they do. I hope they do."
That's like when the diver was like, "I'm going to sue you." He's like, "Do it," and he's like, "Okay."
But
All
he
right.
won that one. So
Yeah, that's true.
he didn't win the SEC, though you could argue that he kind of won. We reported like the deal that he had to buy more shares for Tesla. He actually made money on that. So
He could have done that anyway, though.
yeah, that's true. Like it wasn't. Like it
All
was
right.
forced.
Nanda Holes says Elon for president, Andrew Yang would have made the mail trucks EVs, no doubts. Man, probably.
Well, Elon or Andrew for president. Elon for president, but Andrew Yang would have made it.
I guess Andrew would have been Elon's.
Yeah, I think
Secretary of
I would
Transportation.
certainly prefer Andrew Yang as president than Elon. I mean, I love the guy, but
Elon should be making cars
yeah,
and
but
spaceships. How is Oshkosh qualified to offer EVs? I know they make kids' overalls. How are they going to make EVs?
I mean, I think that's a different division of the company.
Okay. Different company probably entirely. All right. Wayno says, you have to look at the quality of people working for the post office. Most drivers are subpar, if that.
Come
Who
on.
cares? What does the driver have to do with it?
Like morons cannot drive electric vehicles right now. Like
Yeah,
I can list a few if you want.
we got a couple good videos on the channel. All right, Chris 55 stop. Well, Biden dropped $15 minimum wage and then bombed Syria, so that this doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to wade too much into politics.
Yeah.
Biden is giving DeJoy de Hook news today. Oh, we got an exclusive from MDC Forerunner. So I guess DeJoy's gone, according to a YouTube commenter. Chris 55 stop. That would be nice. All right, Mike Metcalf, Fred, you mentioned mining companies you're invested in. Can you share which ones? Any other investments you're excited about? Disclaimer time.
Yeah, I'm not a financial advisor or stock picker or anything like that, but I can discuss my own investment if you want. I mean, I'm very hyped on nickel, and I mean, Elon's concerns I think are warranted. Like the demand that's coming for nickel from the battery industry is truly immense. Like it's hard to overstate it, just how big it is, and it's starting to get reflected into the price of nickel. But it's not just about the price of the actual commodity. Like it's about like, having new mining projects that are sustainable, and that's why I'm looking into like things that are not contributing to the problem, but are just a part of the solution, and also the closer to the supply chain too, it would be nice, like not going like too far deep into the wild and whatnot. So yeah, there's a few projects that I like. The Giga Metals, a Vancouver-based company that has been rumored to be working with Tesla on a potential nickel mining project. I invested in that. There's another company that I like that is related to Giga Metals that could be an interesting exposure to nickel is Conic Metals, but I think they're changing their name right now. It's not going to be Conic Metals anymore. But that company is very interesting, where they invest, they buy stakes in nickel projects, and that's all they do. So they're not a mining company. They invest in mining companies with small stakes and a bunch of different them with a focus on nickel, and uh, so that gives you exposure to nickel, really, but with a wide variety of projects. And so if you invest in Giga Metals, for example, it's a riskier project, because if it doesn't come to fruition, well, that's it. You lose your investment. But if you have a bunch of different projects like that, it makes more sense. So Carning Metals, they are invested in Giga Metals. For example, they have a small stake in the company. So if it does succeed, great for them. They have a small stake in a functioning mine in, I want to say, Papua New Guinea. I might be mistaken, but one of those places that are big nickel producer. So they own like an 8% stake in that company, that mine that's already producing. So that's revenue for the company, and then they invest that revenue into acquiring stakes in smaller, like junior mining companies, and that are looking into nickel. And then if those projects come to fruition, then the company grows and everything. So I think that's a good exposure at that. But look into it, like do your own due diligence and everything. And there's plenty of opportunity for uh, battery materials mining.
All right, so moving back into the comments, the ID.4 all-wheel drive is the one to get, or the Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive. We talked about those. When does the all-wheel drive ID.4 arrive?
Discuss that this summer, you said.
End of summer, coming out of Chattanooga. We'll be there for the launch there, hopefully. Hopefully COVID's over. Nando holds it back, saying Cybertruck is going to decimate these soft first-time EV entries. Nothing else will make sense. Glad to hear from the Tesla fan club here. Sat in the ID.4, it's barely bigger than our least Nero EV. That's true. It's not huge. And it looks like an ICE under the hood. It doesn't have a frunk. That's also true. Build quality was tops. True. But they missed the mark. Okay. It would be funny if one of Elon's sons will be the CEO of Tesla someday. Funny.
I mean, someday. Isn't the whole desk like 13 years old or something right now? Yeah. That would be like, you're talking about a 50,000 people company right now. It's not like you're gonna turn like 30 or something and like, I can run the company anymore.
That's a very South Korean like mindset. Like, why would it?
Yeah,
Why
well,
would
it's
the
like
best person?
Like a Ford mindset too, maybe. Also, like Elon might not be the best person to run Tesla right now, so why would his son be the best person to run the company?
Yeah, and also which son? Like, they're gonna all
Yeah,
fight over it. There's like, and they're all like the same age because they're all
yeah,
like
and we
twins and
don't know
triplets
any
and
of
stuff.
them. We don't know if they have any aptitude toward leadership or anything like that.
Yeah, and
Because, like I
then
said, I'm not saying that I don't like Elon running the company, but I'm saying like at this stage of Tesla, there's definitely an argument that could be made for Elon stepping into like a chairman role and then like a product architect role, both role that he already holds at Tesla, and then leaving the um, CEO role to somebody else. I mean, it worked pretty well for companies like Apple, for example. Tim Cook has done pretty good, even though people said that not as innovative as it used to be. But at the same time, uh, Apple didn't
make it.
have jobs to stick around. Cancer took him away, but if you can have Elon to stick around and have someone as the CEO, that I think that would be, I think, the optimal situation.
I mean, he's really not the CEO anyway. Like, he's,
Yeah.
in the traditional sense, he's a chief product architect or whatever, whatever you want to call like the head engineer or whatever. He's not doing a typical CEO, sorry, role where he's taking meetings and doing all that stuff, especially since he's got 2 companies going, or 15 companies. All right. Nanda holds again. The only reason Tesla upped the Model Y price was to get some of the government cheese on once Biden's GND 7,000 credits hit. It will be the best value at that point. I don't get that logic. You get the same 7,000 on a cheaper one. Maybe we'll skip those from now on. All right. Tom Gearing says, instead of Model 2, what follows Elon's joke name convention, sexy would have been sexy except Ford on the E. I'm guessing the next C6 models. Okay. All right. Silly. All right, Shane O'Sullivan. It's a bit surprising that Ford didn't go with the heat pump in the Mach-E. Did they reverse engineer the Model 3 and decide to copy them? There is a lot of similarities with the Mach-E and Tesla's vehicles. Heat pumps, it's not a new technology. It's been around for a while. I mean, I know Tesla did like the octavalve, which is supposed to be interesting, but if they wanted to, they could have probably put a heat pump. I think it's just a cost and size constraint. All right, moving on. Kevin N. for the Ioniq 5, colors of the Ioniq 5. Oh yeah, so I guess we'll have to dig around. Maybe we'll get one of our artists to mock up some cool stuff.
No, I think they released a bunch of them. Like
Did
there
they?
might be a configurator in Germany open or something.
Okay.
I'll look into that.
All right. Jose de la Cruz asks if the Mach-E had a heat pump, it would increase its real-world range in the winter for sure. Can't argue with
Yeah,
that.
I did test the Mackie though in the winter, and I was impressed by it. So it's said the same. So.
Yeah, we drove to Vermont in like single-digit cold, and it was fine. All right, our Panasonic and LG Chem getting into LFP. Seems like NMC is on a downward trend due to nickel cobalt.
I don't know exactly the product roadmap for Panasonic and LG, but yeah, I mean, Tesla has laid out its plan like for all right, our shorter range vehicle are going to use LFP, mid range are going to use in NMC, manganese nickel, and then high nickel for long range or demanding product like the Cybertruck and the Tesla Semi and whatnot. And I think the broader industry is going to have to adapt to that. It'd be surprising if they don't.
All right, Tristan Ward asks, any guesses on the Ioniq 5 price? Rewind. We did a lot of guessing there. Some thinking it'll be between the Ioniq and Kona. Nope, it's going to be above the Kona. Looking great, 60-mile charge in 5 minutes, etc. Yeah, Kona is, I mean...
It's just not as good, like not even
It's
close.
dead in the water, really. Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to pull
Well,
it, right?
it depends. If the price is still better, you might go with that. But also, some people it's too radical, maybe the design of the Ioniq. But I feel like it hit the mark for me. Like it's new, potentially radical, but it still works well.
It's the only car I'm kind of like really thinking about right now. That obviously thinking about Cybertrucks and Roadsters, but ones that are going to be produced this year. All right. Moving on, Shannon Sullivan. In Europe, ABB is providing a lot of the hardware to the Ionity network, which is what Electrify America is called here. What is the predominant DC charge point in Electrify America? It is mostly ABB. They do most of the chargers. Even EVgo, I think, is mostly ABB.
Well, I think Electrify America bought for 4 different ones.
They diversified a little bit.
Yeah, they diversified a lot. Though Ionity is not really what Electrify America is to I mean, it's a coalition Ionity in Europe. I think Hyundai is one of the big owners, and Ford is too. Volkswagen is for sure, but Electrify America is Volkswagen is the sole owner of it.
Yeah, and I think this was in regard to my comments about how I wasn't able to initiate a charge with credit card. I think that's more like that. I don't think that has to do with ABB. I think that's more like the payment processing stuff, the credit card stuff, and the communication stuff, which I don't think ABB is a part of. They might be. And then we're at our last question from Shane O'Sullivan. A nice trend is all-wheel drive, but with the front wheels driven by a low-speed, high-torque motor just for snow or off-road driving. That's actually interesting because GM talked about that at their battery day in March, or not battery day, but whatever. What was that called? Was it the battery day?
EV Day? The one last year?
Yeah.
Early last year, yeah. That was the EV Day, I think.
Yeah, their EV Day almost a year ago. Some of their cars are going to have a very low-power, high-torque front-wheel, all-wheel drive motors just for that time, 3 or 4 times a year when you're stuck in the snow, which I think is really smart. because really, that's kind of a lot of people are just buying all-wheel drive for those particular times, and I think it's smart. I mean, you can do that with electric. You can't really do that with gas. You have, you're either running a axle like the length of the car, or you're not. So this is kind of a cool thing. I don't know if anybody else is. Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, also he's talking about front wheel drive. I mean, there's not a lot of people doing front wheel drive on EVs. A lot of people doing rear wheel drive now.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
the Ioniq, I think is real. The 2-wheel option is rear wheel drive. I think.
yeah. So basically, the wheels that aren't normally driving the car.
Oop, did I lose you right now? All right. If I lost you, I'll. I mean that's it for today's episode of the Electric Podcast, people. I think we lost Seth right now, but thanks a lot for listening. If you like the video on YouTube, you can leave us a like and a subscribe. On your podcast app, you can give us a review. It's always appreciated. And we're going to see you next time. Have a good one, everyone. Oh, you're back?
Back. Yeah, we can end it though.
Yeah, I just ended it on the audio version. But if you